picture that we have is that one right there,
Boy, that's as good a one as you can get.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just the best picture I believe the museum has.
God, that was back in the early 40s. Or no, yeah, early 40s. She was 5 years old.
So I can date it.
Yeah, did you ever look at that reel?
What is that?
It's a pen senator reel, but it's left-handed.
Oh, was it? It is.
Yeah, see, and she was left-handed. She caught that tarpon out there on the end of the North Jetty. The following year, I fished her and another young man that was a couple of years older than she was. I don't remember his name right offhand, but this boy's daddy rode with us in this tournament for the children. Okay, so we get out there and we go to fishing and she catches the first sailfish. Well, I told her, I said, honey, now, you know, in order for you to belong to this rod and reel club here, you've got to turn 2 of these fish loose. Okay? So, now, 1 sailfish and 1 tarpon. Okay, so, anyway, I said, I'll tell you what, I already turned her fish loose, her sailfish. And this other boy, he was about, I think, she was 6 and he was 9, that's the way it was. So I told, when that boy caught his sailfish, I was gonna turn it loose. And that boy's daddy just jumped up and down. No, you're not. He said, I'm gonna have that fish mounted and put on the wall. I said, okay. So she didn't have anything covering her legs, so she had this big towel over her lap. Well, she had the ends pulled up, wrapped around her face. So then I went back there before I ever put the baits out, and I saw she was crying. I said, Kathy, let me tell you what, honey, you've already made the deal. So if you catch the next sailfish, he's going in the boat right alongside that boy. Okay, so I said, now dry your tears and act like a big lady. And she did. She dried her tears and sat back there, and we went on fishing, and she did. She caught the next sailfish.
Good for her.
I put it right in the boat, right alongside of that horse. And our fishing time was up, I think, 3 o'clock. So I hooked them up and brought them in. And let me tell you something. I quit fishing that tournament because the men folks up there on the dock accused me of hooking those fish for those children. And I told them, I said, I didn't do it. And this boy's daddy said he never touched those rods and reels. He sat back there and instructed them what to do. But he didn't touch the rods and reels. I don't believe, they're all saying, I don't believe, how can those kids catch that many fish? Well, hey, they did it, you know, they did it. So I said, well, if y'all are not gonna believe me, then this is my last time for this roundup, and I didn't fish it again.
And, okay, I printed this one because I'd heard that might be your boat.
No, sir.
Do you know which boat that is?
No, sir, that's not it. That boat belonged to Sonny Matthews. That boat there belonged to Sonny Matthews. There's another party hauled over.
No, it's a bigger part.
Yeah.
Now, what were...
Mine was a 28 footer. This is a 26 footer. The one that I had. That's a Chris crab there. And this looks like one of those, other East Coast boats. No, mine was a 28 footer. You see, the difference between this boat here and my boat was that this one wasn't up here. I had that little windshield there, up here, on this part here, raised. Okay, it came up pretty high, but down here over my engine, I had an engine box built up high, and it came up this way, and that allowed me to stand up and look real high, you know, good ways back over the water. With this way, he's down in the hull, see, but I wasn't down in the hull, but I had about this much deck inside there, and it allowed me to see better. Yeah.
Well, Steve here he's come down to learn about tarpon fishing,
Yes, sir.
and so we'll let him take it, and,
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean,
Right.
and
I just
we
had to
can talk
ask.
about, no, we can talk about anything, but I'm doing a story for Texas Monthly Magazine about tarpon, and really was interested in talking to you
Oh, God.
and about
Yeah.
the old days of the tarpon
My
fishing.
God, yeah, I used to love the tarpon fishing. And, I caught a lot of them up in that north surf.
Where's the north surf as well, like up North Jetties over there, like San Joe?
From the North Jetty north. A lot of times we'd end up 25, 30 miles up the beach
Really?
up there,
Uh-huh.
chasing those schools, you know. And, I worked for an old man one time. I worked for his boy. I say an old man. I was young then, you know, but anyway, he told me at that time, he was 72 years old, he said. And he told me, he said, Cap, he said, I work for his son. And I said, they were from Louisiana, and they had a 26-foot Chris crab down here. And he was redheaded and red-haired and just, oh my God, he's sunburned. He had a chauffeur and a nurse, and the nurse would just pack this white strap all over his face, his ears. And he said, whenever I get ready and to meet my maker, he said, I'm gonna come down here and tell you to go catch me some more tarpon. He said, I know they're out there. I said, oh yeah. So anyway, one day he come down there and he said, well, Cap, how would you like to go tarpon fishing today? And I said, that suits me fine. And we got up in that surf, and it was dead calm, just as pretty for that old man, you know, bless his heart. Of course, I was like, I was in my late 30s. And anyway, we got out there, and I spotted, he had a black man for a chauffeur. Okay, so I told him, I said, now we're just gonna idle along here until we see if we can see those schools. And he said, okay, so we run, just idling, you know. And about that time, I told him, I said, now you watch that water up there, and those tarpon is gonna tell you where there's another school up there, because this one fish is gonna be like he's gonna sit down there and just barely roll along, and I said, if you watch for him, well, you'll see him, he'll be up there inshore of us, and he'll be rolling real slow, going up there to the north. So, I saw this fish, and I didn't tell that boy anything, so I told him to fish. And, anyway, he didn't see him. So I saw him, and he rolled about 3 times the way the guy was saw him, and my God, he come unglued. I said, wait a minute, don't stop the boat, don't make any noise. This water's shallow up here, it's just like beating a drum if you go to stomping the boat. So, anyway, we eased along, and I stayed on the outside of him, and I kept staying along, and I was watching him. Finally, after a while, I saw the school up there about a mile, I guess, splashing the water, feet. And anyway, we got off up there, and I told those people, I said, now, get Mr. Bulow Marston. Get Mr. Bulow Marston back there in a chair and sit down and make sure he's comfortable. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna pull up ahead of them, and I'm gonna shut the engine off, and I'm gonna let that school of fish come up to us. And whenever they get close enough, I'm gonna start casting these 4 lines. I had Mr. Moss, who was a friend of his, and then this black boy and the nurse. I told them, I said, now y'all watch for him, because I'm gonna cast his line out first. I'm gonna get Mr. Moss out second, and then I'm gonna throw your guys' lines out next. Because I had those mullet in a bucket of water, so they'd be thawed out, you know. And when I got up there, I casted these lines out there, you know, and that school they never faltered. They just kept coming. So I went up there then, and fired up the engine and did idle, and I put it in gear, and I slid forward about the length of this table, and my God, the water broke back there. We had 4 fish on. So finally, the girl and Mr. Moss and the black boy, man, they lost theirs. Mr. Bulow caught his.
Mr. Bulow?
Bulow.
Bulow, okay.
Yeah, Bulow Marston. Anyway, we fooled around there, and when Mr. Bulow caught his, we put him up under the, we had a canopy there. Put him in a chair up there, because he was satisfied, he didn't want no more. And so did Mr. Moss. Well, I said, what do you want to do, Mr. Bulow? He said, oh, catch him some. I said, okay. So we eased on up. I got around them, and I stopped up there again and done the same thing. But I only used 2 rods this time, threw theirs out. And they caught there too. So he said, that's fine, Cap, let's go to the house. And I said, all right. So that's the way it was with them. But with that group, and we had a lot of fun up there. He was a good old man. I really did like him.
Those mullet dead? Were they dead mullet?
Did
you hook them on dead mullet?
Oh, yeah. Just hook him right up from the bottom of the chin up through the head. But you had to make sure that he didn't twist or anything like that. You wanted him to try to swim a little bit in the water.
But he was dead, the mullet were dead though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you,
right.
you just wanted kind of to move
Yeah,
a little
you
bit, yeah.
want him to look like
Right,
a
yeah.
live one instead. If they go to twisting too much, they won't touch him.
Are you from Port Aransas
Oh,
originally?
yeah, I was born and raised here,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So when did when did your family come to Port Aransas?
Oh, my God. I really don't know what year they came here, but Daddy he used to shuck oysters up there in Fort Lavaca. And my Uncle August was the same way. He had his thumb cut off, right straight through here. But he could hold that oyster knife right there like that.
Really? Yeah.
He won the oyster shucking up there with 15 gallons of oysters. By do it with that knife like that. And he could rattle it, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and God, I don't really know when he came here because I was a little boy. And there was, Mama had one child, my daddy had two by previous marriages. Okay, then there was, let's see, there was 7 more children. There was 10 altogether. And anyway, Daddy was a fishing guide down here, but when he first started out, they used rowboats.
Yeah.
They rowed up and down those jetties out there. And that's the way they caught tarpon out there then. But they used catfish, they used cut bait, they used everything that they could. And they got $2 a day. And they fished from early morning till late evening. And they stayed busy.
Would he row himself out through the jetties? Or was one of those deals where they towed you?
No, sir. Mr. Ed Collar, who, if you go down this main street here, and turn it at that light, right there on that corner, that whole corner belonged to Mr. Collar. And he had a big house up there. And he had a 1-cylinder make and break points. And the flywheel on them were, back then, was about this big around. They were about 4 inches wide, and they're about anywhere from a half to 3/4 inches thick. And you had a little piece of pipe that would recess into this flywheel. And you would push it down, and you'd open up this spark over here and get it to spinning. Okay, and then you'd turn it loose right quick and close that spark or popping it.
Yeah.
And when it did, you didn't know whether it was going to go in reverse or forward. So you better be careful with that spark.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Dryers were here in the 1900 census. So they were here in 1900.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of boat did he have that make and break in?
It was, well, it was only about 16 feet long, and like a skiff, you know, big skiff. And he would tow as many as 12 boats. They'd all tie on behind the stern, you know, and he'd drag them all out there to the jetties and turn them loose. And he charged them 2 bits a day, each one. And, that was something.
2 bits or $2?
Sir?
Did you say 2 bits or $2?
2 bits,
2 bits, so you charged the guy, the fisherman $2, 2
Yeah.
bits a day?
yeah.
And you said they made $2 a day, didn't
Well,
they?
no, we charged, they charged the fishermen $2 a day.
Okay,
And Mr. Cotter here charged the guides
oh, I see, okay.
25
Yeah,
cents.
Okay.
Did he own that boat? Was that his boat or was
Oh, yeah,
that a pilot boat?
That was his own personal boat. Yeah, that was his own personal boat.
'Cause he was also a bar pilot, I believe.
Mr. Cotter?
Yeah.
Yeah, he started out as a bar pilot, and he didn't last very long, I don't think, you know. And that's a tough racket. I rode 60 trips in and out of on those ships myself.
Did you really?
Yeah, and
Piloting, you mean?
I wasn't piloting, I was a cub.
Uh-huh.
And each one of the pilots would show me where that ship had to be at a certain spot,
Yeah.
and same way as into the harbor, you know, when it's going on the dock and all that stuff. Yeah.
When did you start guiding? How old were you when you started?
Whew. You would ask me. God. Well, let's see, in 1942, I went in the service, and I was guiding a little before then. Yeah, I had my first licenses. They were called 6-pack then. There was you couldn't carry over 6 people on your boat, and that's the reason where they got the name the 6-pack. And let me see, we wasn't getting but $8, $6 for half a day and $8 for all day. And the biggest gas tank that was in any boat that at that time was only about 13, 14 gallons. And we'd go out there fishing for, probably half a day. Okay, then we'd come back in at noon and dump out barrels of fish, and then go back out for a couple hours in the evening. And a lot of times we'd just, instead of taking them back out there, going offshore, we'd just hold them right in there and take them tarpon fishing right at the jetties.
Was tarpon the fish that people wanted to go after the most?
At that time,
Uh-huh.
yes. It was a great sport fish.
Uh-huh.
There's no question of it. Most of these, as you see, this was in when the sailfish were showing up offshore, you know.
Right.
But I'm talking about offshore now, by the sea buoy,
Yeah.
5 miles offshore.
Right.
Yeah, way offshore.
5 miles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What is it about tarpon that's so,
They're
that's so?
tremendous fighters and great sport. They jump in the air and they do all kinds of antics, and it's just a great sport. I told a lot of people, I said, you take a tarpon this size right here and have 10 sailfish, and that tarpon right there would drown all 10 of those sailfish, dragging them backward,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But because they're so powerful, My goodness, they're tough. Mr. Hamlin bought this rod and reel. In fact, he special ordered it from Ben Senator Corporation for this girl because Bill Ellis and his wife were real good friends of the Colonel Hamlin's, and so they ordered this for her and gave it to her. He filled it up full of line and gave me some tackle for her to use, and that was her first fishing trip, and she caught him.
Do you know, what's her name, do you remember?
Kathy?
Kathy, and what was her last name, was it Ham?
Well, it used to be Ellis, E-double-L-I-S, but she married
Porter.
Porter.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Yep. Kathy Porter, yep.
We know if she's still,
Yes, she lives in Corpus. She's married to a doctor.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Good people.
be interesting to talk to her about that day when she caught that tarpon.
Oh my God.
It would be full circle, didn't it?
You
Yeah.
look at her face.
Yeah.
Captain, that's one of the best photos we have
I think it is the best.
in the whole collection.
Really?
We have 17,000 photos.
I'm sure.
That's true,
Yeah, I'm sure.
and that's the best one.
Uh-huh.
And it's not because of you.
That was done by Mr. Compton?
Yeah, it's a Conklin photo.
Yeah. Yeah, he would lived here and took all of our fish pictures.
How old do you think she was? 8, 9?
She, here,
Yeah.
she was 6.
6.
Yeah. She was 6. And she was 7 when she caught, the 2 sailfish.
Uh-huh.
And she caught them at this rod and reel here.
Uh-huh.
Cause I never touched them.
When you would go out looking for tarpon, what would you look for? What was? How did you know the tarpon were there?
Oh, you could see them.
You could see them.
Oh, yeah.
And this
my
almost
God.
any day. You could see
Hey,
'em?
there were schools bigger than this room here. And they'd be out there rolling, playing in the water and just rolling along. Feeding, in a sense, and they'd roll along and they'd move up there 50 yards and they'd roll some more, just playing along. Yeah, they were yeah, this is one of those tournament pictures here that in the service. Well, I tell you what, you sure had to be careful with these boats like this because some of these boats had a little keel on,
Uh-huh.
and that's dangerous.
Uh-huh.
That's dangerous, boy.
Why? Because they would.
Shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they dive on
Yeah.
this way, Now, another thing too, this boat had a deep bottom, and the bow would be this deep, or that deep, and the stern would only be that deep,
Uh-huh.
see?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it had any keel in, if it didn't have a keel.
Mm-hmm.
If it had a keel, well, you didn't have to worry about that,
Mm-hmm.
because it would keep us going pretty straight. But, whenever I know one time I liked to cut Speck Brown right at smack in two with his boat, and because my boat shied, and it made a dive towards him. And I had to shut her down and back her down as fast as I could, boy, with all the cold that I could get. And if I had nobody, hit him right smack in the side. But I did. I was prepared for